Tolerance only extends as far as the left wants it to extend, which is not to say very far.
They are honestly the biggest hypocrites I have ever met in my entire life. They exist, but not with Christians or conservatives.
Why does the left get away with demonizing its political adversaries as hateful, intolerant, and violent, when it's leftists themselves who are the most threatening, violent, intolerant, and censorious people in the field of public discourse?
Ladies and gentlemen of the Republican Party, and right-wing conservative pundits and voters of America, climate change is real. According to an overwhelming amount of evidence, research, and a solid consensus among well over 90% of the global scientific community, the climate is changing at an unprecedented rate, and the cause is human CO2 emissions. This is not a matter of tolerance of opposing viewpoints. This is a matter of whether or not you think your dumbass opinion and piss-poor comprehension of the subject carry as much scientific credibility as the combined knowledge of every climate scientist on Earth. On this, you are factually wrong, whereas my position on the other issues I'm about to discuss may indeed be construed as intolerance on my part and on the part of the left in general, and that intolerance might warrant an extremely sarcastic, satirical apology. I will deliver this entirely insincere apology now. I'm sorry that I am intolerant of your views. Like the view that a fetus that is biologically incapable of thinking or feeling anything is more important than the very much thinking, feeling woman it is growing inside. While I'm at it, I may as well apologize for my strong suspicion that your position is less about any compassion for that fetus than it is about the desire to needlessly impose the responsibility of parenthood on an individual who knows they aren't prepared for it as punishment for making decisions you disagree with, and then deny them any assistance, insisting that their circumstances are what they deserve for having a child they aren't prepared to support. Or the view that those performing jobs you consider inferior don't deserve a living wage, because that would mean they would be making as much money as underpaid people doing more important jobs, whose wages you oddly aren't in favor of raising, and whose circumstances you didn't seem to give two shits about until you had the opportunity to exploit them as poorly conceived ammunition in your quest to deprive people you consider inferior of a basic standard of living. Or the view that poor people don't deserve health care. I don't even think I need to elaborate on this one, other than to call you a bunch of sick fucks. Or the view that illegal immigrants are ruining this country. Despite there being no logical reason to make that claim, the fact that illegal immigration from Mexico has been at a historic low for years, that illegal immigrants are statistically more law-abiding than U.S. citizens, and that most experts rate the net impact of illegal immigration as neutral to slightly positive. But far be it for me to call you a xenophobic asshole for your irrational hatred of them. Or the view that refugees should be turned away over fears of terrorism, despite the existing implementation of a reliable, extensive screening process, and having taken in 1 million refugees over the last 15 years safely and without incident. Or your denial of the existence of racial inequality, which is statistically demonstrable in every facet of our society, from employment to criminal justice. Or your insistence that the left are the real fascists because you don't know what the fuck the word fascist means. While I don't condone using violence to advocate a political agenda, no, that does not make an individual a fascist. And it certainly doesn't make the entire movement that individual identifies with fascist by association. I'll come back to the term in a moment. But for now, you do know that Trump was the only political leader to openly encourage his supporters to use violence, right? Or your view that homosexuals and transgendered individuals don't deserve equal rights and protection from discrimination, because you need to delude yourself and simplify the world to accommodate your own ignorance with strictly defined gender identities and authoritative heteronormativity supersedes their right to be treated like human beings. Or your view that people must be punished for failure to participate in compulsory displays of patriotism. That, by the way, is an important characteristic of fascism. As a matter of fact, and as you're probably aware from my tone, and the fact that I openly referred to this apology as sarcastic, I'm not sorry. The common theme in all of your views that I'm rejecting is that the goal is to establish your own identity, circumstances, and choices as an authority, and to persecute and dehumanize all who transgress. That's what fascism actually is. It's the establishment and enforcement of a national identity composed of specific characteristics which all are to adhere to and take pride in to the extreme. No one is being intolerant of your race, your religion, your gender, or your sexual preference. The reason they're being intolerant of your views is because your views are fascist and intolerant in nature. They are views which anyone who values freedom is obligated to be intolerant of. But trust me on climate change.